Alright, so I'm Ben Yaron from Study Smart Tutors. And just to give you a little bit of background about us, is we work specifically with education organizations and foundations like Upward Bound, Educational Talent Search, MESA, AVID, some other private foundations. And where their goal all year round is to promote students going to college, we work with them to do their test prep component and aligning those same goals for the SAT and the ACT as well. So I have a question for you guys. Say we take two students who, let's say they both go to Deer Valley High School. Let's take me and we'll take Mark. So Mark and I have the same GPA, we have the same extracurricular activities, we have the same letters of rec, same personal statement. Of course, this will never really happen, but just for this exercise. Let's say everything is the same. How much does Mark need to outscore me by, on average, to get into a top university over me on just that SAT? The actual answer, Wall Street Journal did a study, found that it's just 30 points. If Mark outscores me by 30 points, he gets in and I don't. So do we know how many questions on the SAT that is? It's actually just 2 to 4 questions on the whole SAT that can make the difference between one student getting in over the other. So bottom line is that even a little bit of SAT prep will make the difference. Even if I practice 3 times a week and each time I do it I get one more question right, that can make the difference. Is that word that I studied definitely going to be on the test? Because there's only 19 sentence completions. Those are the questions where there's a blank and you have to fill in the vocab word. That means there's only 95 answer choices. And the other big assumption is, are you really going to remember all those words come test day?
Yeah.
So what we suggest doing is really studying your Latin roots and understanding those, because if you memorize a few of these roots, each root can lead you to understand what a bunch of words might mean. So this is one example. This root here, con, all of these words have that in it, and they all mean something that has to do with together or with. Collaborating, congruent, complying. So that goes back to the strategy of, if we're not necessarily looking for the right answer each time, but we're looking for the wrong answer, and we know that if we're looking for a word that has to do with together with, we're probably on the right track with one of these words. But if we're looking for a word that's completely different than this, then we can eliminate this word. Even if I don't know what conjugal means, I can eliminate it because I know it has to do something with together or with, and that's not what I'm looking for. And if you want to improve, keep practicing real SAT-style questions. But by the time you're finished with geometry next year, that's pretty much all the math you need to know for the SAT. And that's going to be the end of your sophomore year, and you're going to take the SAT when you're finishing junior year and when you're a senior in the fall. So I have those online. There's a couple free full-length tests on the College Board website that you can go to. You also have to write an essay on the SAT. This is just a little strategy here, but I'm sure you have how does your English teacher right now want you to write your essay? So the SAT essay, you know how much time you get to write this? 50 or 15? Half that.
7 minutes?
No, 25.
25. That's a 15.
25 minutes is all you get to write the whole essay. So it's going to give you a really open-ended question. Like, does history repeat itself? And then they say, you have 25 minutes, provide examples to support your point of view. So then just kind of as I addressed earlier, what you should be doing in 9th and 10th grade is you still have time to improve a good writer, being good at math fundamentals. But the best way to get a high score on this test is to just be solid in the content of these areas. Once you get here, then we focus on the strategy of how to take this test, given that I'm not going to be able to learn that much more before the test is given. These are when the test is offered. Just FYI. Once in spring of your junior year, so that's any of these days really, and once in fall of your senior year. But what colleges will do, what's called super scoring it, is they'll say, okay, this was your best critical reading, this was your best math, and this was your best writing. So your actual SAT score is an 1840. They will see both, and what most colleges do now is they take your highest in each of these 3 sections, and then they add those together to give your total score. But all the UCs and the Cal States do this. If you got a really low score on critical reading, and you did okay here, and then the next time you take the test, they see you got a much higher score in critical reading, but you just didn't care about the other 2, and you got like a 200 in those 2, they would still see that and go, huh, something's a little fishy.
Just try and cheat.
Statistics show that from the first to the second time, you can really have some improvement just in having done this once before and doing that. Once you get to the 3rd time, there's not much that you go from the 2nd to the 3rd. Know where you need to prepare specifically before you take it again, and then take it the 2nd time. After that, it's really no real reason to take it. This may be different from school to school. I mean, if you're talking about a big institution like a UC, they might not really look at this in detail. They might just take your high score and go, okay, 1840. But if you're talking about a smaller school, or when they get down to weighing specific applicants, they may take a closer look at this. It's really, if you take it twice and just try to do your best each time, prepare before the first, prepare in between, that's just the best study plan that we've found that works. Plus, it does cost some money to take this test, and so you don't want, it's about $50 now. And so you take it 7 times, it's $50 each time. Plus, it's a long day, a 4.5-hour day, so I'm sure you're not going to be jumping to take it as many times as you want. 2 will be enough. Do you want to talk about the ACT versus the SAT? You heard about that test?
Yeah, just for quick if you don't mind.
Yeah. So the ACT is now almost every college is accepting this as well as the SAT. You can take either or. And there's a big difference in the score that you get, because the ACT, your score is 1 through 36. So the SAT's at 2400, the ACT's at 36. There's still almost the same amount of questions, and it's almost the same length. Another difference is that the ACT has 4 sections. They have English, reading, math, and science. And each of those sections is scored 1 through 36. And then your average of those 4 sections is what your total test score is.
So it says that down there, it says how to prepare. It says, as far as the SAT, it says content is not hard, but very tricky. So they make you really think hard. But then the other one has really hard content. But then it's straightforward. It's either you know it or you don't know it.
Yep. That's why for students who are more confident in their content, the ACT can be a better test. For students who understand logic a little bit better, content isn't as far advanced, but they can navigate through those tricky questions, the SAT is a little better. But this is, I mean, you'll hear stories on both sides of it. What I would recommend doing is taking a practice of each of these and just seeing which one you like better and preparing for that test.
But like when schools prefer to see like whatever score that they want to see that test, or they have to accept it. You're saying?
Yeah. Like if you just took the SAT, I didn't take the ACT at all when I applied to college. I just took the SAT, and that's fine. And if you just take the ACT, that's fine too.
So they don't care.
And if you take both, they'll look at both. There's kind of there's equivalence where you can equate what the score on the SAT is equal to ACT, but this is kind of an individual basis. The bottom line is you don't want to be preparing for both tests at the same time, because they are different enough that if you prepare for them specifically, you can get confused with, oh yeah, wait, I have to guess on the ACT but not guess on the SAT. There's a science section on the ACT but not on the SAT. So we recommend that you just pick one and prepare for one at a time. Is the ACT actually says, the SAT doesn't have this on their website, the ACT does. This frequently asked question, what is the difference between the two? And this is the ACT's website says, the ACT is an achievement test measuring what a student has learned in school. The SAT is an aptitude test testing reasoning and verbal abilities. So if the ACT is saying this about their own test, that this is measuring what a student's learned in school, you'd think that they're going to focus more on putting that content that is taught in schools on the test. Whereas the SAT can get away with testing those reasoning abilities that I guess are tested from tricky questions. So how might we tackle this? And remember what we did over there. You know how to do this problem? It's okay to say no. I don't know how to do it.
Can they have rate times time?
Yeah. Does that sound like something
Plus
that's
another rate times time.
Is that going to be fun and easy to do? Yeah. So remember, what did we say we want to do over there? Not look for the right answer, but look for the, yeah. This is question number 19. Most math sections have 20 questions, and they're ordered from easy to hard. This is one of the hardest math questions on the test. So, are there certain traps that you can see on a hard math question that a student might fall into?
Yeah.
What? A?
Yeah.
Why might they do A?
Because he's at shop. It's 2 hours, and the minimum would be.
Right, think even simpler than that, Mark. Where do you see choice A?
She goes 6 miles an hour.
It says 6 right here. So if it says 6 here, is the answer to a really hard math problem just going to pick the same number? No. What else can we eliminate? E, same thing. Anything else?
6.75.
That one? Think along the same lines. See a bunch of numbers in the beginning.
Oh, 8.
Why 8?
6 plus 2 is 8.
What's 10 minus 2?
9.
10 minus 2?
8.
Also 8. What about this word? Average of 6 and 10 is
8.
8. So those are all easy trap answers. So we get down between these two, even if you don't know how to do the problem. You just, based on that strategy, what do?
You have your basically 25% or no, 50%.
Yeah, so what should we do here?
Yes.
Which one do you want to guess?
7.5.
C is the right answer. And if you picked B, I'm okay with the 2. But you see, we didn't even try to do that problem at all, and we got a 50% chance of getting it right on one of the hardest math problems.
Plus you saved a lot of time for the next question.
Exactly.
If you
You're
don't
not,
know it.
when you get to that question, that's at the end of the section, you're not going to have a ton of time to do that anyway. So we did that in about 30 seconds. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. If you have any other questions, I'll stick around outside and we can talk. Or
Thank you very much.
best of luck